Hello everyone, I am Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to go over what you want to know about Dauntless hammers in 2022. We'll be taking a look at each of the weapons, and we're going to be going over the following categories. A general weapon overview, the weapons combos, interrupting methods, the weapons omni-cell preference, mechanics specific to the weapon, special mechanics on the exotics for the weapon, playstyles, and by extension, good specials and mods, the good building perks for that weapon, the good unique effects and bonds for that weapon, and finally some fight walkthroughs to give you an idea of how the weapon works functionally. If you find this guide helpful, consider dropping a like for me, and if you are new around here, consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know down below what weapon you would like to see next, if I haven't done it already. Without further ado, let's get started. To summarize hammer in a couple of sentences, it is a slow, blunt weapon that comes with a mix of physical and special damage sources. Hammers can struggle a bit when it comes to behemoths that like to move around a lot, but can really shine against behemoths that can be stun locked. The hammer is a bit unique when it comes to its combos, in the sense that there's one main combo which will differ based on if you're performing a movement input and when you are performing a movement input. First up, we have the standard combo being the horizontal hammers. You perform this and the other combos with the same button sequence, being 3 left clicks followed by a right click. For consoles, this will be 3 hits of the left action button followed by the top action button, and those inputs will be displayed on screen. For simplicity, I'll refer to them as the light attack button and the heavy attack button. The 3 light attack inputs are the swings of the combo, with the heavy attack input being the Aether Slam. The second form of this combo comes when moving in the direction your character is facing at the start of the combo. This will make your character swing the hammer in a forward lunge, hence being called the lunging strikes combo. And the final version of the combo is performed when moving after the first swing of the combo. This will cause your character to swing the hammer upward on the second 2 swings, creating the repeating uppercuts combo. The hammer has an ammo system, and the other moves on the hammer require ammo or shells to perform them. While sprinting, you can spend a shell with a heavy attack to jump with the explosion created. While in the air from this jump, you can jump again with the heavy attack or follow it up with the light attack for the aerial strike. And while on the ground, you can perform the evasive blast with 2 very quick heavy attacks. The hammer specials are also on the heavy attack input. Clicking once will use a shell to create an aether vent with the landbreaker specials, or create a large blast with the concussive salvo special. And the last thing is reloading, which you can do with the special button input. With all of the ways to use hammer ammo, there are only a couple that are used frequently. The best use of the hammer ammo is going to be for the Aether Slam at the end of the combo. The Aether Slam is going to perform a hammer swing, followed by expending all stored ammo in an outward explosion. When the swing portion of the Aether Slam hits a target, it will automatically reload ammo. The Aether Slam portion of the combo is typically going to do as much, if not more, damage than the rest of the standard combos. But say part of your Aether Slam wouldn't actually hit the behemoth, there's the option to use prime strikes. This is done by immediately hitting the heavy attack button after the light attack button in your standard combo. Primed strikes will raise the damage of those regular swing attacks and are generally used against short or small behemoths such as a Rift Stalker. They can also be very useful in getting faster staggers on behemoths, as the primed damage bonus is actually counted twice in calculating stagger damage. And the other use of your ammo is generally for the Mighty Landbreaker special to give you bonus damage to all of your attacks. When it comes to what is the best combo between the horizontal swings, lunges, and uppercuts, it's sorta complicated. The horizontal hammers combo will technically deal more damage than the others, but it is not the most used. The repeating uppercuts combo is the main combo used for having a couple of good advantages over the horizontal combo. Uppercuts has the shortest animation time leading into the Aether Slam, as well as being quite a bit easier to control your character while doing them. Now for the interrupting methods for the hammer, and that's pretty easy. Every single move a hammer performs can interrupt, with the exception of the Landbreaker special abilities. The most consistent one to use without taking damage, in my opinion, is the double jump while turned away from the behemoth. The evasive blast would be the other option, but the hitbox for it isn't quite as big, and even with good internet, I find my character will sometimes struggle to actually do this move with behemoths around. Generally, I tend to use alternative interrupting methods on hammer, like omni-cells or legendary abilities, being more safe options. And when it comes to omni-cell preference, hammer can go either way with Revenant or Discipline. Because you have a bit of an easier time staggering behemoths, Revenant is a solid option. But on certain behemoths, the staggers don't last too long, in which case you would find Discipline better. Tempest can also be good for boosting the attack speed if you need that, and Bastion and Iceborne are for your more defensive-oriented builds. Hammers do have a couple of unique mechanics to them, them. One of those we've gone over already, being how your movements can actually change the combo you're performing. Another is the Aether Charged Ammo system. It is similar to the Repeater's Empowered Reload, but Aether Charged Hammer Ammo will provide bonus damage to attacks where shells are used, including bonus damage on primed hits, and giving bonus damage or damage reduction with the Landbreaker specials. The way to get Aether Charged Ammo is to hit a behemoth, fauna, or object with the swing of the Aether Slam. You can tell the ammo is Aether Charged when it is glowing. Needing to hit the Aether Slam to get Aether Charged Ammo places importance on actually finishing your combos. And a miscellaneous mechanic is the timing minigame upon reloading. If you time it properly, you do a quick reload, but if you mistime it, you will jam the mechanism and have to stop what you're doing for a second. But those are basically the unique mechanics behind Hammer. The Hammer does have an exotic weapon, being the Molten Edict. The Molten Edict will have lava balls be fired with the ammo-related movesets, rather than explosions. This does translate to something important mechanically, and it's that these lava balls do not interrupt. The other difference mechanically is that the damage of the lava balls is more heavily influenced by whether or not the ammo is Aether Charged. Because of this, you can actually see the antique clip mod being used on the Molten Edict to increase the benefit of Aether Charged ammo, which brings us to the discussion of the playstyles being the mod and special combos of the Hammer, which there are basically two. There's the Molten Edict antique clip playstyle, as I've just mentioned, which is only possible on the Molten Edict, and then there's the standard Hammer playstyle, being the Mighty Landbreaker special with the extended clip mod. And the differences between the playstyles are pretty simple. The extended clip mod is going to give you more shells, which gives you more explosions for your Aether Slam. And the antique clip mod is going to reduce the number of shells, but make those shells more valuable. But what if we switch these mods and specials around? Antique clip is really only good on the Molten Edict. Mathematically, on the regular hammers, it's actually better to run no mod at all. And Molten Edict with extended clip is alright, but you will have to be priming hits against every behemoth because the amount of time the lava ball from the Aether Slam rolls is determined by the number of shells used, and the end of the roll is almost always not going to hit a behemoth. And that's why antique clip is run, because it's better to have it roll for a couple of seconds, dealing more damage per hit in the process. But now we're on to the building perks, and again with this we'll only go over damage and attack speed related perks. Tier 1 is going to be the good perks, Tier 2 is okay but could be better depending on the build, and Tier 3 is hell no. Berserker and Predator are still Tier 1 on Hammer. 35% damage bonus can be permanent uptime in the fight. Cunning will also be in Tier 1. As long as you have an appropriate amount of damage, it's a great choice for the crit modifier. Assassin's Frenzy is Tier 1 for attack speed gains, usually used at +3, but you don't exactly need it with a Catalyst build. And Catalyst is the only Tier 1 insight cell. Others don't even come close. On the border of Tier 1 and Tier 2 will be Overpower. You do have easier access to staggers on Hammer, but this doesn't matter too much still in certain trials and in heroic escalations. Galvanized and Pulse are Tier 2s. Galvanized mainly with the Frostwolf Hammer, and Pulse mainly as that extra +3. Evasive Fury is Tier 2, because you can very easily keep the lower level behemoths down, but it could be useful in the higher levels of gameplay. Tenacious is Tier 2 as it's an okay damage bonus. For the insight cells, we have Molten, Conduit, Zeal, and Etheric Attunement. And we have a couple of conditional Tier 2s. Rage on Revenant build, it can be alright, and Rage Hunter is okay more in the early game when you don't have as easy access to better cells. And when it comes to Tier Hell No, the main attractions are basically the same, being the Adrenaline Endurance combo and Aether Hunter. Adrenaline can be fine on Hammer if you have increased stamina usage, like the Deep Freeze modifier in Trials. You can spend stamina by priming attacks. In fact, the Charog Weapon Bond is actually kind of good on Hammer these days, but you're usually going to recover that stamina before the next combo. And speaking of the Charog weapons, it's time for the good weapon unique effects on Hammer. We'll go by element, the Charog and Hellion unique effects being the best on the regular Blaze Hammers, but the Molten Edict is going to be the best overall Blaze Hammer. The Frostwolf unique effect is surprisingly still relevant for Catalyst builds, even after a large nerf, and the Pangar unique effect will be for the non-Catalyst Frost builds. The Savit unique effect is going to be the favorite for Shock Hammers, and the Karabak unique effect is going to be the favorite for Terra Hammers. Umbra weapons will always have Riftstalker as the best in general, but will have Shroud for specific speedrunning strategies. And for the Radiant Hammer, it will be the Valamir unique effect. The best neutral hammer will be Nasher, but don't use a neutral weapon unless you have to. And this will bring us to a few fight walkthroughs. Hello everyone. So one of the most requested things from the repeater video was a couple of builds at the end here, and I will just show you the style of build that I would be using for each of the playstyles in this. We don't have quite the time to go over every variation of the build as we would in a typical build video, but as an example build here, we have the Malkarian Hammer with Cunning and Pulse inside, the Mighty Landbreaker Special Extended Clip with the Savit Bond, Then we have Discipline or Revenant for the Omnicell, and your choice of Lantern with Catalyst inside. And then for the armors, we have the Shroud Helmet with Berserker inside, we have the Timeweave Robes with Overpower inside, the Malkarian Gloves with Predator inside, and the Timeweave Leggings with Berserker inside. Don't be afraid of tonics, they're not that hard to get, and if you're running tonics, you're going to run the Aether Drive Tonic, Frenzy Tonic, Blitz Tonic, and you can replace the Aether Drive with the Stagger Tonic if you wish. This exact build here is 6 Berserker, 6 Catalyst, 6 Cunning, 6 Overpower, 6 Predator, 6 Pulse, and if you wanted to put this exact build onto a different weapon element, you can, and that will just replace the 3 Pulse from there into whatever is on the weapon. And then we can get that same perk summary on the Molten Edict in a slightly different way because the Berserker is on the hammer itself. So we have the Molten Edict with Overpower and Catalyst inside with the Antique Clip mod, Discipline or Revenant for the Omnicell again, and your choice of Lantern with Catalyst inside once again. And for the armors, we would have the Shroud Helmet with Berserker, the Thorax Chest with Predator, the Timeweave Gloves with Predator, and the Chrono Shreds with Pulse. And a good thing about this armor setup would be that you are element neutral here. And same deal with the tonics, Aether Drive Blitz Frenzy, or instead of Aether Drive, the Assault Tonic. Alright, and let's take you through a couple of Blazeworks fights here to demonstrate what the hammer can do. We teleport in, as you can see, and I'm going to get completely scammed on this Discipline, by the way. I don't know what that's about. You can see that one thing I am doing right now is lunging. This can very easily happen if you are jumping the gun and you are not waiting to use the first swing before moving forward. And you can see I'm just doing that the entire fight on this one pretty much until I start getting it down, and that's when I start using the horizontal hammers. Now, one particular reason to use horizontal hammers is on a shock weapon to get that shock proc faster, because each instance of damage is going to give you more shock elemental damage. And I'm going to head over to the Karabac here as well. And I am going to hit it a couple times, and then I'm going to back up, because I want to get it to do an interrupt right here, and standing a certain distance in front of it can do that pretty consistently. And that actually did put me in the discipline state on this one, so perhaps not the greatest representation, because literally every swing is critting here pretty much. But you can see I still get the shock proc even with that. Karabac would have been a stagger lock fest anyway, and you could just see how fast it goes down given that I didn't really have to chase it around or anything. And then we have the Molten Edict with Antique Clip in a Frost escalation here. Let me show you just how fast this weapon can be. You see I have 2 Discipline stacks here already. We're going to bat this at the Stormclaw, and you're going to see just how much damage the Lava Ball Roller is going to do. As it crits, it's doing almost 6,000 damage, and a couple times during this fight, it will do 6,000 damage. And it is already dead. You see how fast that was. Then we're fast forwarding to Urska here. Watch just how fast Urska's health will go down. I'm critting for 7,800 damage about on those lava rollers. If I land this, I would have killed it immediately before it did this, but unfortunately that just didn't happen. And it got to raise the roof, bring the roof crashing down, whatever you want to call it. And then at this point, I'm just like, okay, let me just, let me go ahead and get an interrupt here, because I think that's probably the least mastery I've had done, is Urska Interrupt Mastery. I have almost every other behemoth done, except for like some of the newer escalation bosses. And I get our interrupt here because it only interrupts when it's Aether Charged, if you were not aware of that fact. But you can see, it was a pretty quick fight nonetheless. And there you have it, what you need to know about hammers in Dauntless in 2022. I will try to pump out the next weapon guide faster than I did with this one, so let me know what weapon you want to see next. You know the deal, drop that like, subscribe if you're new, and I've been Trevor, I go by the Mr. Trails, and I will catch you guys next time.